Now today I present to you FTB OceanBlock 2. Now this mod pack is a progression-based mod pack, meaning that the quest book is going to guide you, and of course, so am I. Now while the starting island is pretty epic with some really awesome builds, there's not a lot for you to really do here other than sort of explore and potentially find some really interesting build ideas. But I will say this is the perfect hub if you are hosting a server, as this is where everyone is going to start before they get started with their own adventure. Speaking of getting started with an adventure, well, we have to make our way down to the portal, and this is where everything gets started. As soon as we walk into this portal, we're going to be greeted with a start screen, and it's going to give us some options. And those options are going to sort of look like this. This one is a familiar life pod. Very familiar. Next is the Escape the Flames, and then we have the Industrious Survivor, and next the Escape Pod. And after that, I think someone made the wrong mod pack. No, for real, that's actually its name. Now, I've personally gone for, well, the very familiar life pod. And this right here is definitely a reference to Subnautica. And we're actually going to be kind of going with a Subnautica theme for the base build here, and I've already planned out some epic builds for that. It's going to be really cool. Now, we do need to get started with this. Thankfully, we do have some storage, and we have a hatch that allows us to get down underwater. And, ooh, there's actually another special chest down here. Oh, I'm definitely going to want to grab that. Now, in that chest, we were gifted a haiku for you. Endless blue surrounds, sunlight dance on the waves, peace within the drift. A still more gorgeous dawn awaits, not a sunrise, but a galaxy rise. A morning filled with 400 billion suns, by C. Sagan, Carl Sagan. From everyone at FTB, thank you for playing. And it says, we sincerely hope you have a grand adventure in OceanBlock 2. And of course, our curiosity goes with you on your journey. Very nice, very cute. Now, we have some progressing to do, but I did want to mention, I do have myself a very special trophy that is in here. Look at that cute little item display that is displaying the creative spellbook. And it does say, from our friends at FTB, thank you for basically streaming the pack. Thank you. Now, other things that are inside our life pod, we do have an ME wireless booster point, which is kind of an interesting decoration in here. But everything else is just us needing to explore. And like I said, I really want to go Subnautica themed with this. And I think it's going to be really fun, as this whole world is essentially filled with oceans. Now, you may notice something with the shaders I'm using, which are built into the pack, by the way. The actual skybox limit, or the sky level or world level, is set right at the cloud height, which gives it this beautiful fog effect. Now, let's go ahead and get started. First thing we need to do is accept our quest getting into this. Now, I typically do not accept experience until I have a means of essentially storing said experience. But there is a little bit of information here. If you do find a bug in the pack, be sure to report it. It's a nice thing to do. And that's the only way bugs typically get fixed, is if they get reported. Of course, there's the FTB Discord if you're interested in that. And then also check out my Discord, link down in the description below if you wouldn't mind. But getting started, this is going to be essential to us progressing through this pack. If you do not follow the quest line, which it is a progression-based pack, you will probably struggle quite a bit. Now, something I typically like to do is go into my keybinds and set my quest book to Z. Don't ask me why. Z has always been the key that I've used, and it makes it really nice. So you no longer, well, really need this quest book anymore. Also keep in mind that you can open your inventory, and in the top left, there is also another quest book. Now, a little bit of lore. The anomaly struck without warning. I was not prepared for the damage that it caused. I'm trying to control it, but my ship spiraled into chaos. So kind of some lore here, and we also get a broken ship Commlink, an empty map, and a box of rations, which is going to be kind of helpful. Now, the Commlink is very interesting, as we essentially, to unlock our minimap, well, we have to find a few components that are going to be out in the wild to actually unlock our FTB map. At first, we don't really have any options, but I do recommend making a map and making sure you locate where your base is at. And this is going to help you not get lost, because you don't really want to venture off too far, as you might actually get lost. Another little tip is if you hit your F3 key, you might want to take a peek and write those coordinates down. Or another fancy little tip is you can actually hit F3 and C together, and it will copy your clipboard or copy your location to your clipboard. So that way, whenever you are ready to find your location back, you can just paste it into your actual text box, just like so, and you will have your exact coordinates right there. Now, a few other things the quest book does tell me is that, well, if we dive below Y level 128, we are going to start to get crushed by the sheer pressure of the water, and it's going to require us to have a special suit in order to go deeper. Then it says, I'm stranded on a shattered raft in an endless ocean. My supplies are gone. My crew's missing. I must survive. And we have to find and scavenge a few things from the, well, wreckage that's out in the distance. And this is where, if you have a fear of large bodies of water, you may suffer in this mod pack. It can be kind of scary jumping down into the depths and looking about. Even watching this could be kind of rough. And believe me, I should know, as my wife actually suffers from this very thing. She did say she's going to try her best to actually watch this, but no promises. Now, some things we're going to want to collect is the banners, and we actually have FTB Ultimine. So if you hold the grave key, which usually is right underneath your escape key, you can vein mine things. But bear in mind, you might actually run out of hunger by doing that, so definitely use it wisely. Also, campfires are really nice, because if you break campfires, you get an abundance of charcoal, and we could definitely use that in the future. Now, the quest recommends taking, for example, these spruce slabs and combining them together, and once we have enough of the slabs combined, we can actually craft a crafting table. But I will say, the sounds of the water and also the potential of enemies, like that guy right there, is pretty scary. Inside of these crates, though, should contain some special stuff. Oh, we got super lucky on that. We got ourselves some bamboo and some kelp, and those are going to be things that we are going to need right off the start. Now back at the ship with a few more planks. After just visiting 2 of those structures, we can place this down, and we can now start to craft a few things. And it's telling us to make some shears. So I think I'm going to go ahead and now craft some flint shears. And something that we can also do with these flint shears is break down these banners into string. So now we have a tool that we can use to vein mine those banners as we see them. But of course I collected a few, so I'm going to take them and pull them all out. Go ahead and place them in here like this. And I should be able to harvest these. There we go. We have to click from the bottom. And that converts us into string. And I'm super glad I got bamboo, as we need that to make our first raft. Now, a quick tip about following the quest book that can make your life so much easier is if you have the quest book open, you can actually click on the item that is required. And then when you have it open, just hit A over it. And when you do that, it'll pin it over into the left-hand side. This will make it super easy, so that way you can just go in here and go, okay, I want to craft it. And voila, we now have ourselves a raft for our journeys. Now, the next quest says the water on this planet seems to have a lot of debris floating in it. And so we need to now craft a water strainer, and we need to get this up and running pretty quick. And I thankfully have just enough items, I think, to make one. I think. Oh, actually I am not. But we do have a raft now, so getting to one of these other areas to simply mine out some wood is very easy now. And every time I open one of these, it's obviously a surprise. You can get all kinds of stuff, including this pew-pew. Look at that thing. So after a little bit of exploring there, I now have, I think, everything I'm going to need. So we need to put at least one of these out before we really go full exploring, because this is how we're going to generate some of our early game resources. But we do need to have this placed in water, just like so, and it has an inventory and is going to just generate all kinds of pebbles for us. And you know, it's actually reasonably quick. I almost forgot to grab it, but there actually is an item right here called the Barrel Smasher that'll actually make smashing the barrels a bit faster. However, the only thing that it can smash is, well, the barrels. Now, looking out into the ocean, there's a lot to explore, and there's a lot of containers to potentially find and, well, take the loot from. Now I think I want to make myself a pickaxe so that way I can grab that shulker box a little bit easier and hopefully not drowned in the process. I'm going to try my best to get it. Probably will take a little bit of damage, but we should be able to easily grab this, and we will have this for our adventures moving forward. Oh, just like that. Oh, we also have an airdrop incoming, and these are incredibly powerful. Almost broken. Okay. Whew, I got it right at the point of drowning. But the airdrops are actually going to pop up in chat, and you can see right here, it says it is to the west. Now, it's not going to be super easy for us to see. But there it is actually. And we can see the airdrops slowly coming in, and this is super cool. By the way, these airdrops are very powerful, and you're really not going to want to miss them early game. This is going to be one of the best early game sources of getting a lot of loot. You can get like Ars glyphs and all kinds of other cool stuff. And the cool part is after these have entered in and you've collected some resources, they will just potentially disappear. Like they're supposed to just disappear. Oh, we got a dread lamp, some more string. Also, I'm going to take all of these early game recipes here. And we also got some party poppers. Yes, I love the party poppers. They're the best. I do recommend grabbing the wool though. That is going to be very, very handy. And taking all the wood. Like I said, otherwise this stuff is just going to disappear. So you might as well grab what you can because, yeah, you don't want to lose out on this stuff, especially this early game wool. Get back here. It's going so deep underwater. It's so scary. Now you may be questioning what might differ this pack from others and other skyblocks. Well, this actually looks like it has a progression line that leads you into some other dimensions, including this rift progression right here, which has some really interesting mechanics built into it. So I think this is going to be a rather fun experience. And it does look like everything eventually finds its way back home. So yes, there is kind of a subtle story here. Now this area is starting to get kind of claustrophobic, but I think it might be time to make a bed. That is going to be really nice. And I think I can put my bed back here. Yes, and we can sleep through the night. Now I do have a goal to sort of solve at the moment, and that is getting my Commlinks back up. I've got to get my ship Commlinks ready to go, and we need to go out and hunt for some copper wires and some way to get a slime ball. So that means we are adventure bound, and I think I just want to head off in this direction. It is best to know what direction you left off on, and also have your map so that way you can see your little icon at, for example, the bottom or the top. And according to the map, it looks like I'm heading in this southern direction. And this is good. I want to go after some of these containers. There's a lot of golden containers out here. I wonder if the gold ones are actually the good ones. I think all of the loot for all of the containers, by the way, we can see in JEI. Oh, that had a sea pickle in it. Another sea pickle. Oh, that actually had some prismarine. Ooh, we did get a ferrite core helmet though. Oh, that's really nice. And as you can see, looting is going to be very lucrative. Now you might notice, for example, leads sort of floating in the water. I do recommend picking those up because leads do have a very interesting mechanic now that we are in the 1.21 version of Minecraft. As you can, for example, lead boats around, in case you didn't know. Now I have some plans of my own for this pack, as I really want to test out a new sort of building style that I've been working on, and I haven't used a style like this since I played all the mods 9 a long time ago, right? And I technically built a schematic setup towards the end, but what I want to do is I actually want to set up a purely modular solution to building a base underwater. Now, we are going to have to progress until we get there, but it is going to be a really, really cool thing to see in action. And I did do some extensive testing over on Twitch. And if you haven't followed me on Twitch, definitely be sure to check that out, twitch.tv/ChosenArchitect, where you can find me live about 3 days a week, usually on Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays as of right now. And over there, we tested this, and I also will be sharing those schematic files with you via the Discord. So might as well join the Discord so that way you won't miss out on those files when I do publish them. Man, when it gets dark, it gets dark. This is super spooky, but I mean, it is looting time, and we are collecting a bunch of stuff. I got Bad Omen. I got a drawer. Wait. Have I gotten wires yet? No wires yet, but I did get an item pipe and a configurator. Ooh, look what's ahead. A mushroom island. Ooh, this could be nice. Now I say could because there could also be danger lurking. This is an FTP pack after all, and there are custom structures with custom things on it. That's a breeze. Okay, so there's a breeze spawner somewhere, apparently. Oh my goodness. Does this do any damage? Probably not. I don't have a sword or anything. Oh, but there are barrels. If I can sneak up here. Oh, there is a spawner right there. Oh, I'll take the XP. And then I will dive my way out of here. There's also sand down in here too. Oh, and some cables. Okay. The more loot, the better though. Okay, that's not what I wanted. That is some Wilden mobs. Okay, yes, ours is in here. And that is... there must be an R spawner up there. Oh, that's super nice. I see myself taking advantage of that in the future. Now, out of the white barrels, I did get myself some kelp resin. And if you look at how this is used, this is how we get slime balls. So one part of our puzzle is now solved. Now, I will say it is very surreal to be opening crates and looting in the moonlight, while also feeling rather lost at sea here. Thankfully, though, there are some areas to receive a little bit of light. But as you can see, my inventory is definitely filling up, and having that shulker box is kind of a lifesaver, honestly. Now, I was looking at basically where we can find some wire that'll repair our stuff, and copper wire is one of the wires that can actually do this, and it looks like those are found inside of green barrels. So it does give us a way to kind of hunt and prioritize very particular types of barrels. I will say the sunrise is, well... very nice. Oh, come on, drop it. This is a green barrel. And we did get it. We got ourselves some copper wire. And that's exactly what we need to get our comms up and running. And now, well, to use the map to hopefully try to find my way back home. Or I guess to my pod, as I can't really call it home just yet. There she blows off in the distance right there. Now that I'm back home, we can definitely check our strainer over here. And yes, we have tons of stone pebbles. By the way, if you want to pull out all of one particular type of item, you can actually hold down Control Shift and then click, and that's going to take every item of that type technically out and transfer it into your main inventory, which is pretty cool. Another little tip is you can either hit Shift K or just K, and that will compress all of the items. For example, I have all these stone pebbles down here. If I hit Shift K, it will go ahead and compress all of them that's in my inventory that's available for compressing. You're going to find this very, very useful, especially as we continue on in our journey. Now, I do need to get a furnace or two set up, probably a couple of them, and we have tons of coal for this, so that is going to be fantastic as we got all of that from all... oh, that went into the wrong inventory. We got all of that from the campfires, and we can place that there. Some stuff that we definitely want to get smelted up, right, is the kelp resin. Let's go ahead and get that thing fixed. So as soon as that's done, I think we'll have everything needed to fix our broken ship Commlink. And I guess it's time. Let's go ahead and fix this bad boy. There we go, a ship Commlink. And as soon as we have this, we can now establish a connection by right-clicking. GPS link established. How cool is that, by the way? And this gives us access to hitting M now, and we can see all of the area that we've traveled around. And this is also going to give us access to chunk loading and all kinds of other useful features. For example, if we go up to our chunk map, we can then go to claim chunks. We can select an area to claim. This will hopefully prevent creepers and stuff from spawning and blowing up our stuff. But you can also hold down Shift, and when you do that, the area that is selected, that is now highlighted in these colors with the diagonal lines, these are now chunk loaded, and you get so many to use. But of course, if you're playing in a single player world or what have you, you can always add more with commands. I do recommend though, if at all possible, having it chunk loaded because you're going to want a way to keep your strainers constantly running. This is going to be pretty darn important having these running for right now, as this is going to be our primary source of getting a lot of resources, including saplings. Now, something I should have done from the start is, well, taken my crafting table and placed it on a stick. This is something that is very, very useful. And after I have this set up, you can put it in the curio slot over here. And if you set a keybind, for example, I like to set mine to F, you can then just open up a regular crafting table. And this is going to make things a whole lot easier for us to craft in the future. For example, if I want to move forward, we need to do a few things, right? We're going to need clay, we're going to need some other stuff, and we're going to need to start breaking down our cobblestone into different materials. So it does tell me that I can make myself a dripper, for example. And it does also mention that we could use a bowl to do this. We can fill this with water with a bowl. So if I open this up, I can go ahead and craft a bowl directly in my crafting table on a stick. Now, drippers are kind of interesting, and I do recommend making more than one, as this is going to be very, very useful for getting some clay early game. And we are going to want some clay because this is going to allow us to make an unfired clay bucket. So if I step down my ladder here real quick, let's go ahead and lay down some dirt just like this. And then we can put our drippers directly on top of the dirt, and we can use our bowls, all 4 of them, for example, and then we can just right click them on here, just like so. And this should convert the dirt into clay, just like that. So after getting the clay and getting this bucket fired up, there we go. We have a ceramic bucket. And this is going to make our sleuthing operation we're about to get into a whole lot simpler. And no, not that kind of sleuthing. Come on now. This kind of sleuthing. Right, where we're going to be putting in materials and kind of sloshing them around almost like an automatic panner. You know, like for gold and such. Now, I'm going to be needing a lot more wood for this. And well, this is where some interesting mechanics come into play. So we can definitely plant some trees just like this, and we can grow the trees up. But if we craft up your mom real quick, then things are going to work out much, much better, because we can then twerk with your mom. Yeah, just like that. And now this is going to work for multiple things, right? We are going to be able to grow crops like this and also trees. However, I don't think it works on mystical agriculture crops. Oh yeah, mystical agriculture's in here. Now also, if you didn't get lucky and you didn't find any dirt while you were out adventuring, remember that you can convert cobblestone into dirt. So by default, this right here will convert this into gravel first, and then it will convert it into dirt from gravel, and then it will convert from dirt into sand and sand into dust, and so on and so forth. Now, I know you Skyblock players are going to love this because yes, you can break compressed versions and double compressed versions and so on, and it will give you the corresponding amount that is related to the compressed block. Now with some oak sleuths craft, that's really hard to say. I can also take some of this string, and we are going to need to make basic meshes. And then the sleuthing party gets to start. And this sort of area almost feels perfect for this. I think if I go ahead and place this right here, and then I place one right here, there's a ladder and everything for me to go down, and I can go ahead and place the string in like this, and we can use our ceramic bucket to pull in the water and fill that up. And by the way, these will hold a few buckets of water, as you can see, and having this bucket makes it so much easier, and I can just simply right click. Now, what's going to happen? Well, the items are going to plop down in front of this, but we can solve this with a barrel or so. I say so because really any inventory should work here, but I'm just a little barrel biased because I like the way they look. Some cool things to note about each of the sleuths. If you hold shift over them, by the way, you can see if they allow for item automation, fluid automation, and or requires power. So definitely keep an eye out on these. Each tier of sleuths that we will be upgrading through is going to unlock access to each one of those things. And now when I did that, you may have noticed that there was some sort of aspect thing that is underneath where it says FTB stuff and things. And that's because there's a mod in here that is sort of like Project E, but not exactly. And that mod is called Replication. It's something that we're going to be diving into later on in the series, and is going to be a really cool part of this pack. It almost sort of feels like the combination of Thaumcraft, like elemental materials, and using those and breaking them down to be able to replicate more items. As you can tell, I'm pretty excited about all of the cool things that we're going to get to explore in this pack, like exploration that's actually exploration, and also exploration of new mods. Now, with the few materials that we have built up in here, we can then start to work with our chunks. Well, kind of. Because the first thing you're probably going to want to do, because of reminiscent other skyblocks, is immediately compress this. But don't do that, because what you're want to do is you're going to want to take these 9 and just convert them directly into the nuggets. So I can go ahead and throw these in. That's going to start converting into nuggets. And as soon as we have at least a single ingot, we can then convert it into something that'll allow us to, well, make this process easier. And while I'm getting that smelted up, I probably also want to start smelting up some sand. And this is going to be something we're to use quite a lot. So we almost have a single ingot, and to be able to process that even further, we are going to want to use a campfire. So there's all 9 of our nuggets, and then we can combine that just like normal to get ourselves an iron ingot. This is where things really start cooking. So speaking of cooking, let's place this down and go ahead and start cooking an iron ingot. There we go. So what is going to happen here is this is going to turn into cast iron. And thankfully we get a little timer up there inside of our jade that tells us we only have a few seconds left. So we also need to make our glass. And so that's why I'm working on cooking some glass, because as soon as we have our first bit of cast iron, we are going to need to turn this into a jar. So now that I have my glass, let's go ahead and convert this into some glass panes. And then we need to smelt those panes to be able to get the materials needed for our jar. Now, the early game process is a little bit slow, but it does ramp up very, very fast. And beautiful. Now that we have ourselves some tempered glass, we can go ahead and craft ourselves a jar. So let's pull this up, and tempered jar, here we go. Now this is going to make getting our materials much, much quicker, but it's still not fully automated just yet. Now placing it on top of a campfire is going to make it heated, and this jar has a lot of recipes associated with it, not only for making lava and all kinds of other things like obsidian and stuff like that. It has different states. It has a not heated, it has a heated and a superheated variant. And campfire is one of the better things to have underneath here. Of course, as soon as you get lava, lava is going to be one of the best sources to put underneath the tempered jar. What does this allow us to do? It allows us to put our iron clusters directly in there and then just hit the start crafting button, and it's going to craft. Now, this is where I said it's sort of manual, right? Because we have to hit the button to start the craft. This is going to be kind of a thing. Now, also by default, it's going to just pop the items out into the world when it is finished. But we probably don't want that happening, right? We don't want to have to go fishing. That's where the cool part of this just auto sending into inventories comes into play. And so to make this easy, I'm just going to place it right here, and we have access on the front and back to this jar. So yes, now whenever I hit mix, it's actually going to send the item when finished directly in the jar, and this can be hoppered into and piped into and all that fun stuff. Oh, and just as I was setting this up, another airdrop is on its way. And like I said, these are always worth going and grabbing and checking the resources on. Airdrop has landed, and ooh, looky there, EnderIO. We got a bunch of lead clusters. Oh, that's nice. And we got a glyph of harvest. A lot of different glyphs. We even got a golden egg, which would allow us to, well, make some regular mob farms, right? Passive mob farm. And with the glyphs, I definitely want to make sure to right click and just learn those. Now I will say, first things first, get yourself a iron bucket so that way you can move lava around. And lava is going to speed up that process a whole lot more. So it may be a little bit of a sacrifice, but believe me, it's going to be super worth it. Now, how do we get that? Well, it's just going to be one piece of cobblestone to literally make a bucket. Now, this is going to spit out an item, technically, and that item we can just simply place back into the jar, and then we can pull the bucket back out. This is how we're going to get our first little bit of lava. And there went my lava container. I want to grab this out real quick. This fluid capsule, like I said, can be tossed right back in here, and then use the bucket to pick it back up. And then say goodbye to the campfire and hello to lava, which, like I said, is going to be quite a bit faster. perspective, you can see that right here. So much quicker. Now at this point, I have gone ahead and added a few more water strainers. I'm still using the same sleuths, but we now have a little bit more iron. But what is going to help me produce even more and get our first initial automation set up is going to be making a cobble generator. And this is going to be pretty important moving forward, and is definitely a part of the quest line leading us down into some interesting things that might look a little bit like Tinker's Construct. We're gonna be talking about that next episode, but for right now, let's go ahead and, well, make this. So we take our compressed cobblestone. We do need a piece of glass. Thankfully, we have one of those. By the way, you can use your scroll wheel to pull items out of chests, just like I did there. And voila. Cobblestone generator. And I think this quest does give you a barrel and an upgrade, which is super nice that it does this. So we can place this inside of our base somewhere, for example, in here. And we can have this cobble generator just passively generating cobblestone for us. So if I place this right here and I place the cobblestone down below, that is going to start filling up. And if I use the copper upgrade, this will now hold like 16,000 cobblestone. And this is really going to allow our lawn base to thrive. Now, before we wrap up today's episode, I definitely want to allow these right here to be automated. So the way that we're going to get them automated is we are going to convert them to iron tier. That's our next tier. We don't have to worry about the mesh being there, but we do have a little bit of iron now. And if we convert some of these to nuggets, we can go ahead and make 2 chains like that. These are kind of expensive when you think of how little resources we have. And now we have 2 iron sleuths that are now ready to be placed back in the same way we had them. But this time they're a little bit different, because if we look at the information here, you can see that the automation for the items is now actually set to true. And so if we put this back in, just like so, we can then apply hoppers to these. Now I know, hoppers in modded Minecraft, what is this? Well, hoppers are going to be our early source, and we're actually be using hoppers quite a bit. So kind of get used to using hoppers, because item pipes are not super duper cheap for us to obtain right off the bat. But yeah, really, really easy. We can place a hopper, for example, directly on top like this. And then we can go ahead and use a barrel to store a bunch of items while we work on other projects. And this essentially automates this process, almost, because we still haven't automated a way to get water in here. So now with just these little upgrades right here, you should see a significant income starting to flow in of iron, which is only going to allow us to make things better. Speaking of make things better, that water, we need to figure out a way to make that easier. And luckily, there's just the thing. No more bowls, automated water with a pump. And this is all we need. And thankfully, we can actually make the iron that's required for this, the cast iron, by just having some coal and mixing that with iron in here, and that automatically produces the cast iron for us. And just like that, bam, a pump. And this thing is kind of nice this early on. I will say, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the ladder right here and just place the pump in. And all we have to do is just right click it for a little bit. And you're gonna notice it's going to spin up some time, up to 5 minutes. Because if you overspin this thing, there's going to be a little bit of a problem. But this is just going to create water indefinitely for you. And it should start to build up water inside of our sleuths. I don't remember if this has to have water underneath it or not, but it should be able to send water into these. Aha, yes, it does need a water block directly underneath, but as soon as it's there, you can see this is now filled with water automatically, and we just have to keep an eye on it. You can see, so long as it's running, it's going to have like a 5-minute cooldown on it, or 5 minutes worth of time total. But I will say that it is a little bit slower, as it only really starts to count the time down when it actually sends a little bit of fluid into the sleuth. But there we go. Oh yeah, and I don't recommend over pumping it. Or do. Who am I to tell you? Now I know at this point you're probably super ready to somehow automate this tempered glass jar, and that, my friends, is going to have to wait until next episode. But it is definitely coming, and we're very close to now needing to expand our base a little bit. And that's also going to happen next episode. But I hope today you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully you're looking forward to some of the adventures we're going to go on as I start to, well, collect my things and get a little bit more well equipped. And if that's something you're looking forward to, then be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We are getting very close to that 1 million subscriber number, and I can almost taste it. And I can only do that with your guys' help. Also, join the Discord, check out the Twitch, and well, with that, it's now time for me to thank the people that actually allow these videos to happen in the first place, and that is my supporters. And specifically, I like to thank my supporters over on the Discord, as that is one of the best ways to support me. And the supporter of today's episode is going to be a huge thanks going out to Brandorian. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord. Thank you so very much. And of course, guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.